A baby is staring at you right now. Unblinking, their gaze is locked onto your face with an intensity that can make even seasoned adults feel a peculiar sense of being scrutinized. Perhaps even slightly judged. Most of us respond with a nervous laugh, a tentative wave, or perhaps a strange gurgling sound, hoping for some reciprocal action. Yet, for the past 2 decades, developmental neuroscientists have been meticulously trying to decipher precisely what intricate processes are unfolding within that tiny skull during those prolonged, unwavering stares. And what they've uncovered doesn't merely alter our perception of infants. It profoundly reshapes our very understanding of consciousness itself. Let's begin by examining the most obvious, widely accepted theory. The prevalent idea suggests that babies stare simply because their vision is poor, and faces, by virtue of their proximity and complexity, are merely the most interesting objects within their limited field of view. This sounds perfectly reasonable. Newborns, after all, do possess a restricted visual range. Typically between 8 to 12 inches, roughly the distance from your arms to your face when cradling them. However, this theory quickly encounters a significant hurdle. By the age of 3 months, infants typically acquire sufficient visual range to comfortably observe virtually anything else in a room. The ceiling, the window, the family dog, or even that perpetually growing pile of laundry in the corner. Yet, consistently, they still choose to fixate on your face. Time and time again. This isn't merely a matter of blurry vision, it is, unequivocally, a deeply ingrained preference. And as researchers delved deeper into the why behind this, what they unearthed in the data was something no one had anticipated. In 2017, a groundbreaking team at the University of Cambridge published a landmark study in the prestigious journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNS. One of the most esteemed scientific publications globally. Utilizing a technique known as functional near-infrared spectroscopy. They meticulously measured neural activity in both infants and adults during face-to-face interactions. Their primary objective was to detect brainwave synchronization. What they actually discovered, however, brought the entire field to an astonished halt. When an infant's gaze truly locks onto yours, when that profound stare occurs, their brain waves astonishingly begin to synchronize with your own. We're talking about identical frequencies, corresponding rhythms, firing across 2 distinct brains simultaneously. They rigorously tested this phenomenon. With an adult looking away, there was no synchronization. With a neutral facial expression, only partial synchronization was observed. But mutual gaze, direct eye contact, consistently produced the strongest neural coupling the researchers had ever recorded between 2 individuals. Especially across different age groups. Your baby isn't simply looking at you. They are, in a very real sense, locking their developing brain onto yours. They are actively using your neural activity as a kind of scaffold, a dynamic template upon which to construct their own nascent cognitive architecture. That unwavering stare, then, isn't just an adorable habit, it is how human brains intrinsically teach other human brains the intricate art of being human. But here is where the narrative takes an even more fascinating turn, because babies don't stare at everyone with the same profound intensity. Researchers at Harvard Medical School conducted a deceptively simple yet highly revealing experiment. They presented 3-month-old infants with 2 distinct faces. That of a complete stranger and that of their primary caregiver. Surprisingly, the infants consistently gazed longer at the stranger's face. This might seem counterintuitive, even backward, until one grasps the underlying reason. Cognitive scientists refer to this phenomenon as the violation of expectation response. Essentially, babies stare longer at stimuli they don't yet fully comprehend. The stranger's face represents a novel puzzle, something fresh, unprocessed, and therefore deeply engaging. The caregiver's face, however, by 3 months of age, has already been logged, processed, and analyzed for thousands of hours by the infant's developing brain. Every subtle expression, every minute micromovement, every nuanced shift in tone. When they look at you, their familiar person, they aren't confused at all. Instead, they are actively reading you. Researchers at the University of Washington further discovered that by 5 months old, babies possess the remarkable ability to distinguish between a genuine, heartfelt smile and a feigned one. By 6 months, they are adept at tracking your emotional state and employing it as a crucial reference point to decide how to react to the surrounding world. A process developmental psychologists aptly term social referencing. If you appear frightened, they may freeze in apprehension. If you seem excited, they'll instinctively reach out for the object of your interest. If you project calmness, they will confidently explore their environment. That prolonged, unwavering stare is, in essence, a sophisticated process of data collection. Your baby is meticulously constructing a real-time emotional map of your face, which they then use to calibrate their own nascent understanding of what constitutes safety and what might pose a danger. You are not merely their parent. In a profound neurobiological sense, you are their nervous system's external hard drive, continually providing essential input. Now, I want to share details of an experiment that was once considered so deeply disturbing it ignited years of fervent ethical debate within the field of developmental psychology. It's known as the still face paradigm, originally devised in 1975 by Dr. Edward Tronick at Harvard University. The experimental setup is disarmingly simple. A mother initially interacts normally with her infant, smiling, talking, responding to the baby's cues. The baby, in turn, is happy, fully engaged, staring up at her face with an expression of complete attention and adoration. Then, precisely on cue, the mother deliberately adopts a completely blank, expressionless demeanor. The still face. There are no expressions, no responses, her eyes remain open, but there's a palpable emptiness behind them. What unfolds next, in the mere 2 minutes that follow, constitutes one of the most intensively studied sequences of behavior in all of developmental psychology. The baby immediately notices the shift. They instinctively try to re-engage their mother, employing big smiles, pointing gestures, vocalizing. All the tried-and-true methods that normally elicit a response. Nothing happens. They try harder, with bigger, more urgent gestures and more insistent sounds. Still nothing. Within a mere 90 seconds, most infants begin to exhibit undeniable physiological stress responses. Cortisol levels spike, heart rates rise dramatically. Some begin to cry inconsolably, while others themselves go flat, withdrawing into a peculiar state of emotional shutdown that eerily mirrors the mother's blankness. When the mother eventually re-engages, recovery is rapid, but notably not instantaneous. Here is Dr. Tronick's pivotal conclusion, drawn from 2 decades of conducting this profound study. Babies are not passive recipients of care. They are, in fact, active, highly engaged participants in a constant, dynamic emotional conversation. And this vital conversation transpires almost entirely through the face. That stare, then, isn't mere admiration, it isn't confusion. It is communication at its most fundamental, irreducible level. Your baby is actively talking to you with their eyes, and crucially, they need you to talk back, to engage, respond, and mirror their emotional overtures. There's one more profound layer to this phenomenon that is rarely discussed outside of specialized academic circles, and it concerns what babies are actually constructing. During all that intense staring, beyond just emotional attunement, researchers within MIT's Brain and Cognitive Sciences department have dedicated years to studying infant visual processing. And their discoveries are nothing short of revolutionary, reshaping everything we once believed about how intelligence truly develops. They found that babies who receive more contingent face-to-face interaction during their first 6 months, meaning interactions where their cues are consistently noticed and meaningfully responded to, show measurably greater development in their prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, for context, is the sophisticated region of the brain responsible for higher-order functions such as planning, complex decision-making, emotional regulation, and intricate social behavior, essentially, the very architecture of adult cognition. Being gazed at, and indeed, gazing back, is quite literally building the fundamental hardware that will power your child's mind for the remainder of their life. Every time you maintain their gaze, every time you sensitively mirror their expression, every time you respond to what you perceive in their eyes, you are doing much more than just bonding. You are actively engaged in profound neural construction work. So, now I must tell you about the critical warning, because there is one. If you ever observe a baby who doesn't stare back, who consistently avoids direct eye contact, who doesn't track your face, or who seems to gaze through you rather than at you, understand that this is not merely a quirk of personality. Reduced or entirely absent gaze behavior in infancy is, in fact, one of the earliest and most consistently observable markers that researchers associate with atypical social development. This does not automatically signify that something is definitively wrong. Every baby, after all, develops at their own unique pace. However, pediatric neuroscientists are unequivocally clear on this point. early identification profoundly changes developmental outcomes. The brain's extraordinary plasticity during the first 2 years of life is a window that never opens to such an extent again. Intervention implemented at 6 months of age often yields positive results that intervention at 2 years simply cannot replicate. So, if something about that stare, or crucially, its absence, ever feels off to you, please trust that powerful instinct. You are, in all likelihood, the most finely calibrated instrument in the entire world for accurately reading your own child's face. Primarily because you've been doing it with unparalleled dedication since the very first hour they entered the world. So, the next time an infant locks eyes with you from across a room and simply stares, remember the profound exchange that is truly transpiring. Their nascent brain is actively reaching out for yours. They are utilizing your face as their primary textbook to learn how to be a person, how to authentically feel emotions, how to comprehend what is safe and what isn't, and ultimately, how to navigate and exist harmoniously in a world teeming with other human beings. 15,000 years of human evolution didn't bestow babies with those large, round, utterly irresistible eyes by sheer accident. Those eyes are, arguably, the most sophisticated social interface ever developed. And when one locks onto yours, the only truly appropriate and resonant response is to stare back. To engage, to connect, to communicate. If this insight has fundamentally changed how you perceive the babies in your life, please consider subscribing to this channel and leaving a comment below. I would genuinely love to know, was there ever a moment where a baby's unwavering stare truly stopped you cold? Because if there was, now you know precisely the incredible phenomenon that was taking place. And if you're curious to understand why babies sometimes laugh at nothing, at empty corners in the dead of night, at something only they can apparently see, well, that's the subject of our next video. And let me assure you, the science behind it is far stranger than any explanation you've ever encountered before.